Okay, so Susanna, wonderful movie, very personal, obviously. Obviously, my sense of the story, at least from the from what you've told me, is that originally you started to make this film, and it wasn't going to be per se. You weren't going to be involved per se, and that it was going to be more sort of an objective look at migraines. So maybe you can talk about why you made the decision to sort of become involved more, be on screen, narrate what, and those kinds of things. And then also the brilliant use of animation. Maybe you can talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, they're all caught up with each other.
Yes.
First of all, I was always involved. I was always the director, but I was not. I wasn't on screen in the story. It started as an objective documentary. Emma was the first interview that we filmed, and my daughter Emma. And I directed her to talk to me as if I was anybody, not as if I was her mother, because I thought, she's just going to be a person talking in the film. That's the way it was for several years. The film took 8 years to make, and it was about probably 5 years in when we finally were, after we did this fantastic Kickstarter campaign, which many of you in here gave to, we were finally able to really get in the editing room for a long period of time and dig down in a way that we needed to figure out what the narrative arc was going to be. And that's when I had this moment of, there was something I was struggling against and I didn't know what it was, and we just couldn't find the arc. And then I just realized I was trying too hard to keep myself out of a story that was in fact mine as well as Emma's and that of the other people on camera. So I did not want to be on camera. I've never wanted to be on camera. And also, in order for it to be that kind of film, I would have to start all over again. And we weren't going to do that. So then we had this idea of, what if we tell the story through animation, and then we can do whatever we want with it. And then I was able to also sort of direct, make the bridges, the kind of the most important, one of the most important and challenging elements of making a documentary is, or any kind of storytelling really, is the transitions. And in a documentary especially, and something that's this diverse, has this many different aspects to it and this many different subjects. So how do you connect the things? How do you not just go, here's a piece of information about this and here's a piece about this? So we knew what parts of it needed to be told, but then I was able to actually write a narration and narrative that could also bring the different elements of the story together.
Yeah, I mean the animation brilliantly does that. I mean, it helps you make those transitions. It fills in the gaps that maybe you didn't get in camera or archival materials. So it's a wonderful touch. And who doesn't love animation either? In terms of going into the editing room and structuring and figuring out who you were going to put on camera, was there any sort of criteria that you were looking for? Obviously, Emma was going to be there. Emma is your main and first connection to this disease, the migraine, but was there any criteria you used in any particular way, or that educated you on who you were going to put on camera?
Well, we knew that we needed to cover the diversity of our population because migraine strikes everyone, and of the types of migraine because it's so individualized. I mean, we can't cover everything. We were very lucky to find people who were, racially, ethnically, economically diverse and were, articulate and able to tell their stories and were sympathetic and, had an emotional core. And yeah, there were some great people who didn't end up in it for many reasons.
I'm curious where the art came from. I mean, you say in the credit, can you talk about the art as distinct from the animation?
Yes. Dr. Klaus Podol, who is the German neuropsychiatrist who talks about Alice in Wonderland and Hildegard von Bingen, he had a contest throughout Europe maybe 10 or 15 years ago, and of people sending out a call for people to send in visual representations of their experience of migraine. And that's what he got. And he had a show, there was a traveling show, and I mean, we only knew about it from him. And we knew about him because we knew that we read his writings about Alice in Wonderland and about Hildegard von Bingen, and we were so interested in that, and we were very lucky to find this treasure trove. Because the other thing is, as those of you who suffer migraine know, it would be a very bad and counterproductive idea to put literal representations of migraine on the screen, because people with migraine would not be able to watch it. And my daughter taught me that. Emma looked at, we had some stuff on it, and Emma would just go, no, you can't, take that away, you can't put that up there, I can't look at it. Well, he asked if on set, while we were filming, people had migraines, and if so, how did we react? Joan Didion was having a migraine, began having a migraine while we were shooting, and I reacted by, I wasn't quite sure, because she doesn't, as we know, you can't see them, but she was having a little trouble forming her words, and I mean, it's Joan Didion, so I kind of put it together, and I asked her, and that's what she said, well, I'm having one right now, was her response. Or I asked her some questions, she said, I'm having one right now. And then it went further. I said, can you see me? And she said, and for a while this was in the film, but things get cut out for all sorts of different reasons. I said, can you see me? She said, yes, I can see you, but if you held up a sign, I wouldn't be able to read it. So, I mean, I reacted by trying to incorporate it into the film, and then I reacted by trying to continue filming without, really putting her through too much. I mean, it's tough, when your job is to, capture something that's happening in front of you, and it's uncomfortable for the person it's happening to. So, I said, do you want us to stop? And she said, no, you can keep going. She is the only person who, then Billy Jernigan said, well, I'm starting to have a migraine, and I didn't know that until she started to say it. So, we just kept filming and asked if they needed to stop. Several times though, I mean, all the time with people, with our subjects that have migraine, we did have to be very careful about the lighting. We couldn't shine a light in their faces the way we could with people who don't have migraine. I mean, the real unpredictability is in just, you never know when it's gonna hit, and you can avoid your triggers. If you can identify your triggers, you can choose to avoid them all the time, as Emma has with her food triggers, for instance. She knows now, by trial and error, exactly what they are. But she can't do anything about the weather, she can do things about her sleep, but she can't always control her sleep. You can't control, you can do stress management techniques, but if you get, fired, or your best friend is in a car accident, you can't control your stress.
Yeah, also very important for people to have empathy who don't suffer from migraines. I think that's a big plus with this film.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably to me, as the mother of, someone who suffers, for me, that's the most important part of this film, is the potential psychic healing to be had by people who see the film and have their loved ones see the film and feel less isolated and feel more compassion coming their way.
Well, before we go, Suzanne, why don't you mention, do you have a website? Is there going to be additional screenings coming up? How's the film going to get out to a broader audience?
Well, you're going to tell all your friends how much you loved it, and they're all going to tell Richard he should show it again up here.
Of course. website?
We do have a website, outofmyheadfilm.com. And right now, what we're doing, the way it's being seen, is we're doing something called theatrical on demand, where people have one-off theatrical screenings. You can host one in your town, or you can look up and see if there's going to be one near you. And it's, you sign up to host, and they find the theater for you, and they do the ticketing, and they give you a toolkit for, all you have to do is get people to come. But you do have to get the word out and get people to buy tickets. And we've had several, really fantastic sold-out screenings, people just, wonderful audiences. And so that's the phase of distribution we're in now. We are we're in talks for broadcast, so that'll be the next, is television broadcast. And once that happens, then we will do our educational and retail distribution. It'll be available for streaming, everywhere. But if you want to be kept in the loop on this, go to our website, outofmyheadfilm.com, scroll down on the homepage to where it says stay in the loop, and you can give us your name and your email address and your zip code, and you'll find out if there's screenings near you, or when the film's coming out, when it's being broadcast.
Fabulous. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
For sharing this personal thing.